Hey all, Hipper here, and welcome to this video about if you're trash at Legends. And what does that mean? Well, I'll cut to the chase and say less than 1000 XP at tier 7 or more in a loss, that is a trash game. And to be fair, I'm going to show you a trash game of my own here in the background while we talk about what's going on in Legends at the moment. Now, we all have trash games, I'm not going to pretend I don't, but the key here is the frequency of trash games, right? And the problem is that the more trash players you have on your team, the higher is the risk of having a trash game. So the purpose of this video here is to try to explain to people when they probably should play at a lower tier or play in a different ship or whatever they have to do to improve their gameplay and therefore improve the experience of everyone else on their team, and probably the red team as well. So what's the easiest way of, doing well? And it's actually easy. It's just play what you're good at, If you're good at a special kind of ship, you play that ship when you play higher tiers. And if you're not very good at some ships, then you practice and you do that down at the lower tiers until you are good enough to move up to the higher tiers. It's fairly simple, and there's nothing new with this approach. So play what you're good at, right? So next question, how do I know if I'm good at something? Well, in my opinion, I think the average XP is the number in the stats that'll tell you if you are good or bad at a ship. And that's the measure I use. I don't really use anything else. I don't use win rate, I don't use kills, I don't use whatever. I go strictly by XP because in my opinion that shows if you're a good team player or not. So conversely, that'll mean that you also have ships that you are doing bad in. And what should you do with those ships? Well, probably shouldn't play them, right? So Erland and Turbids, I'm doing terrible in those ships, so I never play them, because why would I? So sometimes, of course, yes, you have to do ops that require you to play a specific ships, but usually you can do that in AI. So I would suggest that once that happens, and if you absolutely have to do it, then you do that in AI, please. So just keep in mind that, of course, XP varies at the tier you play, right? So these are my, thumb rules for when I think, personally, that I'm good enough to take a ship or a ship type up to the next tier. So, for example, tier 4, I want to have an average of a minimum 1300 XP before I take, for example, a cruiser class from tier 4 up to tier 5. And again, at tier 5, I want to have an average of 1400 XP. Tier 6, 1500 average XP minimum is my, suggestion. Tier 7, I'd say 1600, and legendary, I would say a minimum of 1700 average XP on a ship. That's average XP, right? So you kind of understand that if you have a lot of battles where you score less than 1000 XP at legendary tier, which should almost be impossible. It really should be almost impossible. The reason it should be impossible is that pretty much the first 800 XP in a loss, at least, is pretty much just handed to you for loading into the battle, right? And unless you do something absolutely crazy stupid, you will get 800 XP by doing literally nothing. I've seen AFK players get more than 800 XP just by spotting and perhaps shooting the odd secondary off. So that's not difficult. So I don't think that getting 1000 XP in legendary is anything to be proud of. And if that happens to you more than 3 games out of 10, there's something that you need to think about there. So in other words, if you lose a battle at tier 7 or higher and you score less than 1200 XP, I'm sorry to say, but that's a fail. And also, should you be so extremely lucky to actually win a battle at tier 7 or higher, then if you have contributed less than 1500 XP to that battle, then you have failed. That's the way it is, and that's just too bad. There's no reason to sugarcoat this. If you play at tier 7, you should know better. So I watched the video of Where Are Your Errands today, where he actually made a very good analogy using basketball. Where, sure, you can join any basketball game anywhere, but, if you're going to, trash around and play trash and throw the ball across the street and, I don't know, like trip the other players over on purpose and stuff like that, or you're just so incompetent at the game that, you are a detriment to your team, then, no one's going to want to play with you. And I think that's what's going on in Legends here, and you should have the awareness, if you're one of those players, to recognize that yourself and then have a little bit of a think and say, perhaps I should pop down to tier 4. I think most players lack that insight, and just to compare, a tier 4 ship like this Yahage here, which is a quirky ship. I played with a non-meta build, and I still get 1400 average XP at tier 4. We'll just leave that there for a second, and then, if you play your legendary ships and you have an average of 900 XP or whatever, which I'm sure some people have, then honestly it's time to think, because behavior like that is not just like, it's just bad sport. It's bad sportsmanship. It really is, and it is honestly ruining the game for a lot of people. And you should really be self-aware enough to know that, perhaps you shouldn't join that basketball team over there because they seem to be a little bit better than you are. Perhaps you should, cross the park and join, the other guys at the other court over at the supermarket because you are more on their level. That would be nice. So that would be my, recommendation. So then, are you trash at Legends? Well, no, because I don't think there's trash players, there's trash games. And, you get too many beginner players into one battle and it becomes a trash battle. And the more trash battles that we get, the worse the game is going to have it, and frankly won't really survive for long if people aren't having fun playing it. And it's not all players' fault. It is actually majority of it, actually all of it, is Wargaming's fault, because it is too easy to get up to the high tier ships. It's way too easy. I think the grind should be 10 times longer than it is, and the bureau needs to go. That was fun back when the legendary ships was released 3 years ago. It's not fun anymore. It's terrible. It's a waste of everyone's time. And it's just, the bureau is trash, really. If anything is trash in this game. There should also be a lot more of a punishment for losing a battle. For example, the service fee. It's way too little, and it was even reduced at tier 7 about a year ago. In my opinion, that should be 2 million credits for losing a battle. Yep. That's honestly what I think. So that was a trash battle of mine here. Awful battle, and I didn't enjoy it. And it's happening a lot more lately, so if you want to save the game, have a look at your average XP. So I hope you enjoyed it, and see you out there.